It's off exit 10, presented by Capital District Sport and Fitness.
Catchers tend to be, they have to know everything that's going on in the field. That's why they,
well, the thing
and
is
they have to manage the game.
You have to communicate with everybody.
Yeah.
Like you have to communicate with the infield, the pitchers, coaching staff.
Yep.
And it's funny because when I was in high school, I don't know why, but I always made a point. Every batter, I went to the front of home plate and I said how many outs and where to expect to play. And I was playing in the Twilight League, and one of my teammates was like, "Alex, you don't need to tell us everything that's happening." Like, well, it's just habit. And it's funny because now, like as a coach, I try and tell our catchers, hey, you need to be leaders. You need to let everyone know everything, because it's easy to take plays off. But that was just one thing that I always did, and didn't take any extra effort. It was just being on top of stuff and making sure that everyone was on the same page.
I mean, I've seen pro guys forget how many outs there are. Like, you're telling me you every single time, like,
Yeah,
it's good to get a little reminder. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there's 2 outs.
Yeah, you're
ball's going here.
keeping yourself mentally in the game.
yeah.
Especially if you're playing outfield and the ball hasn't been hit to you all game. You're like, all right, I'm just playing with butterflies out here.
Well, it's funny when I was playing in the Twilight League, when I wasn't catching, they threw me in the outfield, or I DH'd. But when I was in the outfield, like, I was the most obnoxious player. I literally was just screaming to our pitcher, like just being talkative, I guess. But that's just the way I am. I always try to be somewhat vocal.
Yeah, I was the most terrified player in the outfield. I've told the story on here before, but I was an infielder when I went into college.
Alex, I could never picture him as an outfielder. I still can't picture him as an
I
outfielder.
played infield my whole life, and then we do our spring trip to Arizona, and we had a couple outfielders get hurt prior to going there, so they didn't travel, and then we had 1 or 2 more guys get injured when we're out there. And I'd never played an inning yet in college. I was a freshman, and somebody goes down, and coach is like, "Who do we got to go in the outfield?" And I look around, and I'm like, freaking nobody in here. I was like, I guess it's gonna be me. And dude, every ball found me, and it was oh yeah.
Yep. It's crazy. And then you don't realize how hard it is when there's no clouds. Like,
Yeah.
if you're just looking at a clear sky, like, it gets on you fast.
Yeah, even your perception of the ball. You know, I'm used to an infield pop up and the timing of it and your depth perception of where it is.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have any idea what you're talking about because I just did it and I was like, oh, there's the ball. Cool. Like, infield, ground ball, never. No, get that. You guys can keep that.
Yeah.
But a fly ball, I'm just like, oh, there it is. Let's go get that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, when it comes to practice, like, shagging fly balls and BP, like, that's easy. But then when you have to wait and you don't expect it,
Yeah.
to your thing.
The
it's
baseball gods, they know what's going on.
like, yeah, they'll find you.
They will find you. Do you think now, if a guy can hit, you're going to find a spot for him positionally? It's not like I'm a shortstop, I'm a right fielder.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because at Princeton, there was, I think it was this past year, recruiting-wise, like, all I tried to do is just find guys that play up the middle. Shortstops, center fielders.
Because
and
they're
then you
the
move them
best
around.
athletes?
Yeah, and then the leadership factor. Because when you're a center fielder, you're managing left and right field. You're telling them where to go. And you see the whole game. Like, you literally see everything from the pitcher to the catcher. And it's just, you see if the ball's running, see if where the ball's breaking, where the umpire missed a pitch. And then at shortstop, you just have to communicate with the infielders and let them know, because you're seeing the signs from the catcher as well. So it's the leadership standpoint, but you're just some of the best athletes play up the middle. And then catchers too. Like, I always, every year at Princeton, I tried finding one of our infielders and say, "Oh, who wants to catch?"
Mm-hmm.
And usually, like, a handful of guys say, "Oh yeah, coach, I'll try." And then they get back there, and the guys who are at Princeton listening to this, they're probably laughing right now. But the ones that had success were the ones that knew how to block. The ones that didn't have success were the ones that were too scared to block. And I mean, that's the name of the game, just being tough enough to just throw your body on the line.
Yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of kids, instead of trying to be versatile, they look at, the big name players that play one position or whatever, right? Rather than looking at a guy like IKF, for instance. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of him last year. I still thought he did well considering. But
Who are we talking about?
Kiner Falefa for the Yankees.
See,
He has no idea.
Do you watch baseball, like professional baseball? Are you in it?
I try to. I really do.
You know
but
what I'm talking about with IKF,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just
yeah.
thanks for clarifying
Gotcha.
for me, Paul.
Yeah.
I fell out of watching. I told
Isaiah-
McFerrin that I fell out like years
Isaiah
ago.
Kiner Falefa.
So
for the
I'm a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
But the older I get, I'm just a baseball fan.
Same
I just
here.
like watching good baseball
Yeah.
players, and
Like, I haven't wanted to watch a Yankee game for 3 months, but, that's besides the point.
I
But-
think of when I lived in Boston, Brock Holt.
Yep.
I feel like he played everywhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, like, IKF, to me, is a guy that a lot of kids should look at. And, like, he wasn't super successful in his original role, took another contract and said, I'm going to do whatever it is for me to play on this team. He's played every position except for catcher and first base this year. And his ERA is like 0. So throw him on the mound. Like, let him keep pitching. But he's played well at every position. He's hit the ball better, and, like, he's more confident. Like, watching him play this year, he's more confident than he was last year playing one position. And I feel like he's a guy that a lot of kids could look at and be like, more kids are going to be like him than they are going to be Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Or Shohei Ohtani. So, like, if you look at him and go, I could be that, and maybe I'll be better than that, it can help you get noticed in any kind of realm, whether it's college, high school, summer ball, whatever it is.
Being fundamentally sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When did you? So you went to Schenectady High, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Oswego, you said.
Once I graduated from Schenectady, I went to Mohawk Valley Community College.
Okay.
And then I transferred to Oswego, played there for 2 years, and then coached there for a year.
When did you first start getting into doing recruiting and going out on the road and looking at guys?
Honestly, it's just a gradual climb. You learn as you go, and you learn what to look for. Like, when I was at Hudson Valley, the biggest thing I looked for was just getting players that came from bigger schools. Because obviously with the JUCO level, like, all those kids want to play D1. And then if D1 doesn't work out, then you get them. And then if they get to D1, then you could bring them down to the JUCO level if they want to leave. And then they have that drive, like, okay, I got to get back.
Right.
So Hudson Valley, that was my big thing, trying to bring in the transfers. And then once I got to Princeton, you learn it's like you get 7 spots, 7 supported spots.
But is that pressured on you to say, I got to find the right guys for these only 6 or 7 spots?
Well, that's what I learned. It's all about finding good leaders, because at that level, like, everyone's going to play. Like, we had one of the smallest rosters in Division I baseball, but we made it work.
Which is how many is a small roster?
7 times 4, 28. And then you have injuries.
What's a big SEC, ACC team? How many guys are they stacking?
I mean, the roster limit now is 40. So, and then they have red shirts and other stuff.
Right.
I don't want to speak on other programs,
Right. But just a comparison.
yeah. I mean, it was special. Like, you learn how to coach. Well, I learned how to coach at the Ivy League level just because you had to recruit really good players. You had to recruit all the kids were really good leaders.
Right. They were good in the classroom, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is you had to find guys that could play multiple positions. Like, two-way guys were incredible. When you found a good one, like, I'm sure you know Mike Ford.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Princeton grad. My boss always used to talk about him. Him and Matt Bowman. Matt Bowman was playing in the minors. I don't know what he's doing now, but him and Mike Ford played on the same team at Princeton. Matt was the ace, and he played short. And Mike was the cleanup hitter, played first, and was the day 2 starter. So you had 2 legitimate two-way guys that could do both. And that was one of the most successful teams at Princeton. I wasn't there. I just go by stories, and then the stats, obviously. But having players of that level that can do both at a high level is really unique, and it's hard to find.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear you say, leadership's really important. Just being an athlete in general is important. Being able to play multiple positions is important. So I feel like that's getting, and you can speak to it better probably, but maybe more rare to see in youth sports because things are getting more competitive at younger ages. So kids, I feel like they need to lock in on this one position, get really good at that because that's how I'm going to make this team. And then maybe they stop playing a secondary sport because they have to make sure they can make this baseball team because of that pressure. And then maybe they become more selfish because they feel like I have to make this baseball team. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the way the world is nowadays.
But it's backwards of what you want to see out of somebody.
Yeah. It depends. It depends on the type of kid. And the biggest thing for me to go off of that, it's like I love kids that play different sports. Like when I was at Princeton, we recruited a lot of kids from all over the country. And we have a handful of kids from Texas. And, you know, football's big in Texas. So the kids that played football and baseball were the best competitors at times. But being able to play two different sports, you play at a different level in each sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like your athletic ability is different in each sport. Your lateral movement is different in each sport. But it's unique. I mean, I value athleticism and leadership most. And if you just play one sport, yeah, you could be a dynamic leader and a dynamic athlete. But when you're playing with a different athlete, a different type of athlete, like if you're playing basketball, you're pedal to the metal 24/7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that kind of made me think of something with kids, and not necessarily all kids, but I feel like I see this more with kids that only play baseball because baseball's so individualized within a team sport that you're so focused on what you're doing that they're not competing. Whereas you look at a football player, a basketball player, a lacrosse player, you always have to compete against somebody. Unless you're going to just shoot hoops and work on some skills a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But even in baseball, within the game of baseball, it's an individualized game within a team sport. Like, yeah, when you're playing the field, you got to rely on some other people. But when you're up there hitting, it's like, I got to do my job.
Yeah.
And I am competing against that guy. But I feel like they don't have that direct competition of like you're saying, like going 100 miles an hour all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then learning how to control that within a baseball game. Because you can't be going 100 miles an hour all the time in a baseball game, but there's times where you need to be doing that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like that's lost a little bit just in kids in general of just not competing.
Well, that's the showcase culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to a showcase, like that's what your goal is to do. It's to show your skills and show your skill set. Whereas like nowadays, from a coaching perspective, like that's great. You have the skills, but you got to understand situational baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to know, like if you got to run on first base, less than 2 outs, you got to find a way to move them into scoring position.
Right.
And yeah, you can hit a home run, but not everyone can do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you could find ways to, and baseball momentum, it's contagious.
It is.
So if you can find ways to just put the ball in play, find a hole, just make things happen, that's the valuable stuff. Whereas like the showcase player, it's like, all right, well, how hard can you hit a ball off a tee?
Right.
How hard can you throw the ball across the diamond?
Were there showcases when we were growing up? I can't remember going to one at least.
I never went. I might have went to one.
I mean, I know there might have been some down south because I know, like, I'm pretty sure we had a kid that we went our senior year. That was my senior year was supposed to go, but he ended up not going.
Right.
Down in Coastal Carolina. But I don't know if it was a showcase or like a college showcase for that college.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it was like a big like okay, all these coaches are gonna be here, or if it was for that specific college.
The PBR, the perfect game, wasn't what it is or wasn't existent in the form that it is today.
And showcases are very valuable.
For sure. I think we can talk about, they definitely have a place.
Yeah, and I think showcases are great because they can open your eyes to a player.
Right.
Like if you see a kid at a showcase and he's got some skill set, you write his name down and then you watch him. You watch a handful of games. You see how he interacts with his teammates. You see if he – it's so funny. I went to watch a game and the pitcher showed up late. and we were all waiting on this kid. And I'm like, it's a 90-mile-an-hour arm. Like, he's good, but we're waiting on him. Like, and I'm looking in the dugout. He's taking his time tying his shoes. I'm like, have a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy because with me, I'll never forget, I was late to work one day, and I didn't know I was supposed to be working. And I got called, hey, you're supposed to be working. All right, so I got to work. I literally sprinted from when I walked in the door to the cage. And the guy was like, wow, I was really mad at you for being late, but you literally had a sense of urgency. You sprinted in and you showed that you like really you felt bad.
Those are great habits. Were you here yesterday what did the dad say to me? Remember I walked over to the desk? He goes, you're always fast walking.
Oh, yeah.
I go, dude, I'm never not fast walking.
Yeah.
You're always going to see me moving like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have urgency.
Yep.
Yeah. So how long were you at Princeton for?
6 years.
Did you always think or want to come back to this area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, coaching at Hudson Valley was a phenomenal experience. I look back, I don't know how it happened. Like, it was just right place at the right time. But, I mean, I'm really close to my family, my parents, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents. They're everything to me. So having the opportunity to come back to the area, be around family and be a head coach is like, I sort of like wake up sometimes like, wow, I really get to like go to work and just be a head coach. Like at Princeton, I was there for 6 years and I was the volley for 3 years, getting paid $0. And I got promoted twice, but like those 3 years, it's like everyone was like, my mom was like, when are you going to get a real job? I'm like, just wait. Like,
Yeah.
it's a process. And then my girlfriend, my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, she was just like, you need to make money. You need to make money.
Yeah, we went through periods, Alex, and I was living in Boston with my girlfriend and my wife now. Your wife's from this area too, and same with Sam. But where I went out there, I did the Cressy internship, $0 coming in. But I knew in my head that this is worth it.
Yep.
Like, this is a good stepping stone for my career to build skills.
Yeah.
Probably how you felt at Princeton, to network with the right people, to learn from the right people. But we went through these years where I was doing internships, and then she was in grad school. And it was just like, I felt we were just kind of flip-flopping between part-time jobs, who was paying the bills.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the big thing. Like, you learn how to work and appreciate that. Because I was told, it's funny, by Brian Stark, he's the associate head coach at Harvard. He went to Oswego, and his brother was my roommate there. He went there before me, and he told me, he's like, Alex, when you coach and you look for dollar signs, you're in it for the wrong reasons, and you're never going to advance. And he was right. Like, I never really cared about the money. I always cared about the climb and meeting the right people, connecting with the right people, learning from the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the point, and when you look back, you appreciate the process. And now it's like, all right, well, I'm a head coach and I did it the right way. I worked my tail off. And it's funny because people nowadays, they won't work for free.
No, that's definitely something that's shifted in the last 10 or so years. Because when I did my internship, I did my first one in 2011 at this gym in Springfield called Conco Sport and Fitness. So that was probably a 300-hour internship, freebie. Cressy's had to be, I can't even count, near 1,000 hours probably, freebie. Yeah, but it was never really a thought. It was never any thought in my head of these guys aren't paying me.
Yeah.
You know, it was never a thought that they weren't paying me or I was unhappy about that. Jay, you're a little younger than us. Your age
Couple
group,
of
your
years.
friend group growing up,
Yeah.
unpaid internships, a thing that people thought were a good part of the process, against, or?
It was definitely mixed by the time I was coming into college and after college. Mixed
Yeah.
in the opinion of it's a necessary step and, how dare you. Give me
Right.
my money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was big for my career and big for
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, well, you're doing it for the right reasons,
Right.
and that's the biggest thing. Like, and when people know that you're doing it for free, and you're putting in your time and putting in your effort, they know that you're reliable, and that's how you make the connections. And they pick up the phone and say, "Oh, hey, Alex is a really hard worker. He's the volley at Princeton. Like, I see him grinding it out at these showcases." I literally, my first summer at Princeton working camps, I spent 32 days straight in California, like on my own dime, because Princeton couldn't pay for me because
Recruiting guys.
I wasn't recruiting. I was just working camps.
Right.
Because as the volunteer role, you're not allowed to recruit.
Right. So you're working camps.
So you're working camps, and it's funny because my dad and I, like, my dad's retired politician. He's just hangs out and works 2 days a week.
I feel like every article I've read is like
Yeah.
Alex Jurczynski, new Siena baseball coach, and then it's like his dad was the mayor of Schenectady.
Yeah. But like my dad, he had like the same career trajectory as me, like city council, all the way up to the mayor. But
You mean from like volunteering, earning a spot?
yeah. I think it was Hamilton Hill neighborhood president. Literally the same thing. But when I was in California for those 32 straight days, we drove from Schenectady to California, like 3 days. We rented a car and we drove. And it was like, I don't know how I did it. Like, it was, and it's crazy because when we got there, I was just like, holy cow. Like, I didn't want to pay for a hotel. And I told my dad, I'm like, we're not paying. Like, we're just driving. I'm like, I'll sleep while you drive. You sleep while I drive. So we slept in a Walmart parking lot just because I'm like, Dad, I'm just going to sleep for 2 hours. Like, you're tired. Come to find out, he had Lyme's disease while we were doing that. Yeah.
Oh, geez. I mean,
Jesus
you hear
Christ.
people with Lyme, and it's like
Yeah.
you're fatigued, your body aches.
Yeah,
like-
and I'm like, Dad, like, you're not that old. Like, wake up. but we drove I think it was the longest highway. I don't know what the name of it is, but I drove it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, Dad, are you awake? He goes, No, you're fine. And I'm driving down mountains. I'm like, holy crap! Like, I can't see anything, and that process, like, it was really cool. Because like the fact that I was able to do it with my dad.
How influential is he in your life in terms of your work ethic and how you approach things?
Similar. Like I'm similar to both my mom and my dad. Like, my mom she'll work until the day she dies. Like, she'll never retire. Like, she does real estate, and like, we're looking for a house, and she's like, oh, I got this house. We're looking at 2 houses tomorrow. I'm like,
And now's a
just-
crazy time to look
yeah,
at houses.
no,
bro.
we're never gonna find a house. But
Like sometimes we look at ours and Sam's like, "Oh, we could sell this." I go, "Yeah, but then we got to find something."
yeah, it's crazy.
I mean,
but
you could stay in a Walmart parking lot.
There's like a couple places you're allowed to camp out in. One's a Walmart parking lot.
Yep.
There's another, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Jordy,
no.
Jordy will fact check us on this.
It was,
before we start spreading misinformation to people and they start camping out places.
Well, it was only a couple hours. I just needed a quick nap. But no, it was, that whole experience was really cool. And then I was just sleeping on hotel floors with my coaching buddies. And it was that whole like month that I was in Cali was really, really unique. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Unique because what? It was just this month long every day working
Yeah,
camps.
because I mean, if you told me to do that now, I would look at you and be like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it was just, I was 27. I had the energy for it, and I was hungry. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to get out on the West Coast and work some events and just connect with people, because I knew that I had the opportunity to work for Princeton, and name carries a lot of weight. So when you go to those events, it's you're connecting with people that essentially think you went to school there, and it's like, no, I went to Oswego State. I'm from Schenectady.
They're like, what's that?
yeah, no, but it was. I definitely cherished my 6 years there, and working with the people that I worked with there was really cool. And I mean, it's funny because the people at Siena are very similar to the people at Princeton, just like the employees and even the alumni base. Like the alumni base at Princeton was like a lot of powerful people, but they're normal.
Right.
Like they come to games, they come to alumni events, and you talk to them, it's like, oh my gosh, like you're just a normal, everyday person. And then like the people at Siena, same thing. Like ever since I got the job, like all these alums have reached out, and they're just really amazing people because they care about the program. They're happy that I'm able to essentially live out my dream and be a head coach back at home. But it's just exciting because like all the kids that we're bringing in, and hopefully just continue to keep building.
Yeah, what has to be cool too is knowing that you're doing this and your family's around.
Yeah.
You got your parents and your wife's family, and yeah, it's we were in Boston for 6 years, and we always knew we wanted to end up back here.
Yeah.
It took Sam's initiative, not my initiative, to move back. But now to run a business, be around my friends, be around my family. Now we have a baby, so our baby's around her grandparents. Like that's been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine trying to work at this pace without having family around.
Yeah.
I think it would be impossible.
Well, that was the big reason to get back home, because we want to have kids. And my big thing is I want to be able to have a son or daughter, be able to bring them out to the field, throw the ball to them, have them hit, have them catch, have them interact with the college athletes. Like, that's the cool thing. Like, being around college athletics is a unique experience that not many people get to have.
It's good energy to be around, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you're learning from a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're just going to school to go to school, that's great. Like, you're doing something that not a lot of people get a chance to do. But then if you get to go to school and play a sport, whether it's a club sport or a varsity sport or intramurals, like, you're doing something that not many people have the opportunity to do, and then you get to compete at it. Right. So you get to show your character, show your leadership, show what type of person you are. And that's, in my eyes, like, if that's one of the reasons why I wanted to coach, was because I wanted to raise a kid in that environment. Like, I was raised in a political environment, which I sort of take for granted. Like, I used to be super young, and my dad used to bring me to little leagues and throwing out the first pitch, and I didn't bat an eye. Now, if you tell me to throw out the first pitch, I'll be shivering like, oh my gosh, am I going to bounce it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what. Listen, our dad's fantastic and took us to a bunch of cool stuff. Once, Jay, when I was little, he took us to the Ghent Rod and Gun. Maybe it was just me, maybe me and you, for him and his friends' fantasy football draft. This was before computers, so they had a big like whiteboard up, and his buddies are there drinking, and they're doing their fantasy football draft. I don't know. I have to be in elementary school. And I look around at everybody, and I think that they're all spitting their teeth and their gums out into cups, and I start freaking out. I'm like, what's going on right now? And they're all just dipping and spitting into their spitters. And I was terrified. So they're all losing their gums while I'm sitting there having like a sody. So yeah, man. But being around family is important.
Yeah.
Being back here has to feel great. Yeah, and to have, for me in here, is Paul, to think about all the cool role models in terms of female athletes in high school and college that we have.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, whatever our daughter wants to pursue, I'm like, oh, I know this awesome girl at lacrosse, and these awesome people for field hockey or softball or soccer, like you name it.
Yep.
Or a girl in here is going to do swimming lessons with her next summer. Yeah. It's just,
and the cool thing is, like, you get to figure. Obviously, some people are going to come, but for me, in the coaching world, I get to pick out what personalities I'm bringing on.
Yeah.
So then your kids are around that, and obviously you get to sort of mold that environment here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I'm looking forward to the most, because I'm recruiting kids that I want to be around. Like, I spend a lot of time at the field, in the office, talking to players, and like, I'm not going to recruit a kid that isn't a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, I'm going to recruit a kid who has good energy, who works really hard, who, like, I do a ton of background checks on kids. Like their coaches have to give me good feedback.
What goes into a background check, if you can speak on that? Talking to past coaches.
So yeah, I talk to the kid first, and then I have him give me his high school coach's name, his travel coach's name, and then like whether he works with a strength coach or an individual hitting coach, because I want to understand what their offensive, defensive, pitching philosophies are, how they're coached. But the biggest thing is it's like, okay, well, how does he treat his teammates? Like how does he work in the weight room? Like when you're at a lesson with him, like how are his lessons? Does he make excuses?
Mm-hmm.
Like does he take time off? Does he take water breaks?
I think this is good for kids to hear because they may think, oh, I'm just going to my lesson tonight. Yeah. I'm just in the gym today doing my workout.
Well, it's the relationships that are valuable because
yes.
when you connect with one of those coaches, like, oh, wow, well, Coach Jurczynski, he really cares. He wants to know the ins and outs. And then when he gets a kid that's really good, like, oh, Coach Jurczynski at Siena, let's give him a call.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's just, I mean, that's recruiting.
Yeah,
it's just
a trickle-down effect.
Yeah, trying to find the right fit. And, like, that's, I don't know. I've been around a lot of really good coaches that really know how to recruit. I try and take bits and pieces from them. Just like the biggest piece is like watching them play and seeing what they do. And every eye is different. Every coach looks at something different. But I don't know, if something sticks out to me that's unique and that I usually don't look at, like I'll take a gander at it. I'll figure it out. But everything is valuable, and I like I said, the relationships are the biggest thing.
The supplement industry is like the Wild West. The lack of regulations mean the supplements you purchase may not even contain the ingredients listed on the label, which is why I get my daily vitamins and supplements from Thorne. Thorne vitamins and supplements are made without compromise. Quality ingredients ensure your body optimally absorbs and digests your daily supplements, while in-house and third-party testing ensure you're getting exactly what you paid for. Thorne offers a variety of health tests reviewed by board-certified physicians that evaluate your lifestyle, gut health, sleep, stress hormones, and metabolic markers to determine which vitamins and supplements may be most effective in helping you feel and perform better throughout the day. For college and professional athletes, Thorne has NSF-certified supplements that make sure you won't get pop positive on a drug test. Whether you're an athlete, professional, parent, grandparent, or weekend warrior, Thorne's selection of high-quality supplements can help improve your quality of life. Switch to Thorne's high-quality and extensively tested supplements today at thorne.com/u/CDSF. That's thorne.com/u/CDSF. This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Anchor and the all-new Anchor Pro, crafted to endure the most high-performance workouts without the high cost and space requirements of a standard cable machine. Named the best portable cable machine by Men's Health Home Gym Awards, Anchor provides the full functionality of a cable machine in one small space-saving unit. Designed with user-friendliness in mind, Anchor can simply be attached to any squat rack or placed on any wall in your home gym using its intuitive sliding track mount. With up to 65 pounds of resistance, Anchor is built for high speed and controlled exercises alike, from cable presses and rows to chops and lifts. The Anchor has been a game changer for us here at CDSF, and now you can enjoy the same professional quality cable machine in your own home gym by heading over to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Get all the benefits of a cable machine without the high cost and installation fees. Enjoy the portable luxury and space-saving performance of Anchor today by going to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 at checkout. That's anchortraining.com, promo code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Do you look at kids' social media?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's good for kids to hear. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's looking.
Yeah.
Whatever you post is there.
Twitter is huge.
Have you ever seen something that was posted on a kid's account and that turned you off?
Yeah, like when it comes to like bashing other people, I just think that's a bad look. Like one of my first years coaching, there was a play at shortstop, and shortstop made an error, and the third baseman went to the pitcher. He goes, "Oh, that's not your fault. That's on him." And like I'm at the third base box. I'm like, dude, why? Like, why you got to bash we're at practice. Like, you don't have to bash your teammate. Like, he made an error. You're going to make errors. And that's the way I coach. Like, I'm not a big, like, why did you do that?
Right.
Like, why did you swing at that ball? It's like, no, like, I wasn't a good hitter. I had a couple weeks a year where I was a good hitter. Every other time it's like, all right, well, I had to make the best of it. But like
Swinging swords out here.
yeah, like I know that not everyone's going to be perfect. And in baseball, like I see kids, they get frustrated, and it's like, yeah, you get frustrated to a certain extent, but don't let it be a detriment to
Baseball's an easy sport for that to happen in snowball, though.
Yeah, and like you see it with like I'm watching the Little League World Series, and these kids, they're putting their head down and they're frustrated. They're kids, I get it, but like,
Yeah.
on to the next. And
Well,
the kids that can do it, like every kid's gonna get frustrated. I get it. Like
Yeah, that's
kids
part
are
of
kids.
competing and growing up. And
But if you find a kid that just he gets out, he hits a line drive right at the center fielder, and he jogs off the field, and okay, I'll get him next time. Those are the kids that you got to remember, because those are the kids that you want to build a program around and build a team around, because that's going to rub off. And like back to the Twitter thing, when you have kids that are just like making fun of people on Twitter, like other players,
Twitter
Major
or
League,
X.
yeah, I saw the X. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, it popped up one day. I was like, what? And
Yeah,
it's cool.
But the thing is, like, I value that because that shows what type of kid you are.
Mm-hmm.
And not every kid's gonna be perfect. I get it. I'm not. I made mistakes, but it's how you respond to those mistakes. And I don't know. I think Twitter is really, really valuable. Instagram is just okay. Like, I don't think Instagram really is great for recruiting baseball players.
So yeah, as a coach and somebody who's done a lot of recruiting, Twitter or X is a better platform because by how a kid can present material
you
and
just
post things.
post videos.
Yeah.
And like Twitter is just a small piece to what I do for recruiting.
Right.
Like emailing is good.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's just that's just an opening to what you can get out of a kid.
Right.
Like if I'm just scrolling through Twitter and I see a video of a kid, PBR or Perfect Game or whatever, like I'm gonna watch it, and if it's something that I like, by all means. But like it's just how you present yourself and how you sort of just use that as your resume essentially.
Yeah, because social media wasn't a thing when we were growing up. I think I got Facebook in my senior year of high school, so 2009. And then, Instagram not until I was an adult. But do you feel like social media and then kids wanting to present themselves in a certain way, get likes, have a certain degree of clout, has changed how maybe some kids approach college, and they may seek out and go to a D1 school, let's say, or somewhere maybe that isn't a good fit for them, but just they want to be at a Division I. Does that make sense? Just kind of for that look and that.
Yeah, I don't look at likes or followers or whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Back in the day, I cared about it. Like, of course you want followers, but now it's like, who really cares?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I just look at is the content.
Right.
Like, if the video is good, it's funny, kids post these videos of their games, and it's like so far away, like you can't see anything.
Whenever you watch, we'll put kids' games on in here, and even some, smaller D1, we look at the stream, and it's like from the bird's nest way above
or
home
something.
plate. And you're like, I don't know if I can do this.
I mean,
now.
you could tell quite a bit from that.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is just trying to see repeatable mechanics.
Right.
Like I love watching cage swings and then working off of that. Because if I could see your mechanics, see what your bat path looks like, see how your body moves, those are big things that I value. And then I'll say, okay, well, how do you compete in a game? Because you're only seeing one pitch, and you might have gotten fooled on a breaking ball.
Right.
You might have been late on a fastball when you're looking for a breaking ball. So that stuff's important, but at the end of the day, it's all about how you compete.
Yeah.
The mechanics are important, but you could have the best swing in the world. But if you can't hit the ball,
I have said that I think 20 times in the last month in here to kids, because they'll be trying to do too much weight for something, and I'm like, all right, let's just drop the weight a little bit.
Yeah.
And most of a lot of times it's a baseball player, and I'll be like, dude, if you could swing the bat harder and hit exit velo harder than anybody else, but you never hit the baseball, is it any good?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And I was like, that's the same thing in here. And then they're like, it's like a light bulb just goes off in their head. You saying that, I was like, holy crap!
Yeah.
I literally said that like a million times.
And you know what's hilarious? So my boss at Princeton, Scott Bradley, one of the best baseball minds I've ever been around. Like, the guy is just brilliant. And he's so funny because he's old school, new school. Like, he's a good mix. But the biggest thing that he said that just makes me laugh all the time, he goes, "Oh yeah, average exit velo. Like, yeah, that's great. But what if you swing and miss? You should add a 0 to that average. And then if you add a 0 to that, who cares? Right? Like, your exit velo doesn't matter. It's all about where you hit the ball. Like, you could hit the ball out of the ballpark, but like, how many home runs does the average baseball player hit in a season? Like, our first baseman this year hit 21 home runs.
it's pretty darn good.
He hit one last year.
Right.
And it's like, he's a kid that he got hurt, but he worked his tail off to get to that point. And he had a lot of strikeouts, but those home runs were really valuable. If you're hitting 4 home runs a year, like, you got to put the ball in play.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 4 home runs and 40 strikeouts, if you have no home runs and 40 strikeouts, that's not good. Like, you got to barrel up baseballs. You got to make things happen. And batting average doesn't tell the whole story. I'm not a huge, like, batting average is important, but if you do the right things at the plate, your coaches will know.
Yeah.
Like, when you make things happen, if you can have a ton of RBIs, if you can move guys over, like, coaches know.
Right.
Coaches know the unselfish players, and they know the selfish players.
Yeah. And I think, talking old school versus new school, I think, we're in a time period now, whether it's because of social media, kids, maybe social awareness is better. They've had maybe a variety of different coaches throughout the years, just playing in different travel programs. I feel like their meter for a coach who is, I guess, this blend of, let me build a relationship with you, let me still be a disciplinary in certain degrees, and still teach work ethic, but maybe blend some technology into it. How do you see that coming into Siena? Things that you've learned in the past, being at Princeton, being a younger guy, bringing in, I guess, some newer school methodologies or technology into a program.
Technology is really important to me, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Like, I think in my eyes, like, I consider technology just machine work. Right, like Rapsodo, I mean, you have to understand it.
You guys had that at Princeton?
We had a TrackMan.
We have a Rapsodo, and if somebody from Rapsodo listens to this, we've probably traded ours in 3 times now. And if this thing works 60% of the time next week, I'll be happy with it.
Well, the thing is, like, it all depends on the coach that's using it.
Right.
So if the coach knows how to use it, it's great. But, like, if you're just throwing out numbers, it's like you're wasting your money. But my value, what I value in coaching as a hitting coach and an offensive coach, like, it's just competing. Like, I've said it, like, probably a dozen times already. But what we did at Princeton this year is we just got a machine, or we had an iPitch, and we just gassed it up to 95 and made the guys
Hit the ball.
Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't force them to do it. They wanted to do it. And that's what I think gave us the most success. Like, we had a lot of really good leaders this year. And we went from 7 wins the year prior to 20-something wins.
That's a phenomenal turnaround.
And,
Big turnaround.
but the thing is, it's came from the players. Like, we had the same team. We lost one senior, and we brought in a catcher, an infielder, and then a handful of arms. And we had 4 additions to that team. And one of them got hurt. But the biggest thing was just the leadership that just took a step. And to their defense, they didn't play for 2 years.
Yeah, you had the COVID situation.
Yeah, so we were the only Division I conference that didn't play in 2021.
Good point.
That's
I
right.
remember
I
that.
remember Ivy
So-
League didn't play.
Yeah, so we just practiced. And the next year we had 7 wins, and we had, I think, 10 or 11 one-run losses. But at the end of the day, they worked. And every kid led in their own special way. And don't get me wrong, like there were a lot of hardships down the road. Like there were some arguments between players, but
But isn't that going to happen when
builds-
everything's firing on all
yes.
cylinders?
it
Builds
builds the
character.
team, and guys held each other accountable, which nowadays you try and hold somebody accountable, they're going to get defensive, and
Yes.
the egos were gone. And I learned from them, they learned from me. It was a full circle. And the biggest thing that like I'm really excited about Siena is that it's going to be very similar.
I was just going to ask, how much are you thinking about those years and those kids and now going to Siena and saying, I know this type of kid that can be a leader. I know, I've seen kids turn this around and come together and
Yeah, it's cool because I've talked to all the kids on the team. Like I've had Zooms or one-on-one phone calls, and they're all ready. They're excited.
You know what's cool too is last month, a couple months ago, whenever the hiring process was happening,
Mhm.
and everybody knew it was happening, and you people in here talking the gym, and these are high school kids and college kids and adults to go, well, so and so I heard is in for the job, and Jurczynski's in for the job, and everybody goes, Alex is gonna get it. Like I think he's the best fit. All from high school kids to college kids to adults in here, which I think is cool. It just shows the impact you've made, whether at time at Hudson Valley and Oswego,
Yeah.
and Princeton, or coaching kids in travel ball situations.
And that's cool. I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
it's humbling, but I mean, I worked for this point. Like I've given back to the community, and like the thing is with me, I like we talked about before. Like my parents have very good work ethics. My wife pushes me.
That's important.
Yeah, and she's so much smarter than me. I mean,
Also important.
she's gonna see this and she's gonna probably screen record it, and just play it on repeat. But
Sam doesn't even listen anymore. I'll go, hey, this one was great. You I think you'll enjoy. And she's like, no,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
yeah.
listen.
We
Well-
do shout out Sam a lot, but she still doesn't listen.
Yeah,
so.
she's too smart for this.
That's so funny. But it's just cool because like you're able to work to get to this point, and when people notice, it's cool. Like it makes you feel good, and I'm just really excited because I've been able to learn from a lot of really, really influential people, and I mean everywhere I've gone, like I value every relationship I've had, good or bad, because the good relationships I still maintain, and the bad relationships they teach you a lesson, right? And like you,
Yeah, and the other person, and maybe how you handled it as well.
yeah, and like I always try and respect everybody. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, and like there's relationships that I wish went differently, and like if people were to reach out to me and be like, "Oh, Alex, I heard your podcast. Let's be friends again." I'm fine with it, but it's just like some people, you just got to move on, and I don't know. I think that just this whole 10-year coaching career that I've had so far, it's been cool.
You ever feel like imposter syndrome along the way, or no?
At times, it's like because I was a Division III player, like I wanted to play at Siena, like I wanted to play at a Division I school, but realistically, like I thought I was better than I was. Like I didn't work hard enough until my junior year of college, and I look back and I'm like, wow, well, if I worked harder, I may have been able to play at this level. But I think that's what makes me a decent coach, because I knew what I didn't do, and I knew I know what I should have done. And I mean, you're able to talk to some of these kids, and I'm like, hey man, like you're not working hard enough.
That's a real thing too, because I can relate to that in the sense like I didn't lift weights like at all in high school.
Yeah,
Like barely ever.
And this type of industry was just scratching the surface. Around here, when we were in high school, you had this place, Top Form in East Greenbush.
I worked out there.
Yeah,
Clifton Park.
that's about all you had was.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the first one to the game here. I mean, that's how much it's grown in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like back then, people look at you. You can't make a career out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like you can make a career out of anything. You can make a career out of taking pictures on social media.
We have a kid on next week who's like a YouTuber or TikToker who does trick shots. And according to his friends, gets paid, and that's what he does. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. No, it's cool, and like I don't know, like back when I was a kid, I always thought like the 9 to 5 was the only career you can have.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's like, "You're never gonna play professional baseball. You need to get a job." Like, all right, Mom. But I mean, her mindset was different, and then you had my dad's mindset, who was like, "You're gonna do it. Like, this is exactly what I did. You have to climb the ladder." And once I started to like really be passionate about it, that's when my mom was like, "Okay, like, you'll be fine." I'm like, my sister won't admit it, but I'm my mom's favorite.
My sisters do admit it, that I'm the favorite.
Jordan,
Well-
do you guys admit that I'm the favorite?
We used to, but things have changed over the last couple of years.
Well, I just said this so I could show this to my sister.
Yeah.
Because my sister's gonna be so mad. But my mom loves us both equally.
And I'm gonna be so mad. I didn't know I was falling back in the ranks.
Shocker for Mike.
Yeah, I gotta go step away for a little bit right here.
That's funny.
So, yeah, there is a thing about upstate New York, probably because it's just a collection of small towns.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in Boston and there were in the suburbs were bigger regional schools, people's minds were blown that the high school you went to had 400 kids, but the one 10 minutes away had 400, and the one 10 minutes the other direction had 300. They're like, it's not just one school. And you're like, no, it's not like that around here.
Yeah, and it's funny because going to Schenectady High, I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. Like, I went to school with so many kids, and it was just such a unique experience.
Because how many does that graduate? It's a double A and A school.
Honestly, don't quote me.
Yeah.
I want to say it's like anywhere from 300 to 500. I'm not good with numbers, but I know it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm recruiting these kids, and I value a kid that's able to interact in a bigger school.
Mm.
Whereas if you go to a smaller school, that holds a lot of value because you have to be a leader. You can't fall in the weeds. And
There is something. This isn't, and nobody take this as the word, but there is in here. It's not everybody, but you see kids that go to Shen or maybe Burnt Hills. They're a little bit bigger schools, Saratoga. At younger ages, they do tend to be able to interact with adults a little bit more maturely.
Mhm.
And do you agree, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's an accurate statement for sure. You just see, like, I'll have a 7th grade boy in here and not all of them, but a couple in particular with 4 adults, and they're carrying on a conversation with all the adults. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything. I'm just here hanging out. Like, you guys do your thing and whatnot. And I'm like, this is all he's leading the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, he's not just in it. He's like leading the conversation, and it's hilarious to watch. I'm just like, you are in 7th grade right now, just
Chopping it up.
chopping it up.
yeah.
But then I think going back to like the small town thing, I think you also get a lot of the times with a small town a greater sense of like community and like how
100%.
Mm-hmm.
like,
And that's the valuable
everybody
thing.
kind of comes together for the smallest thing. So then there's that leadership that you're talking about.
How are you approaching Siena now? Because these local roots are very important to people.
Mhm.
So you want to bring in kids that are local, whether to draw local people or support the local community and have that aspect. But yet there's good players that don't live here that may want to go to Siena. How do you blend? I want to have local guys, but also
The best
there's other guys. Yeah.
So you got to figure out your needs. So that's the one thing that I don't want to say I'm struggling with not knowing what the players are. I've watched probably almost every game of Siena baseball twice.
How do you take a roster that's pre-existing? Are there cuts that have to happen and you have to kind of reshuffle things to how you want it?
We'll see.
Yeah.
I got to figure out our level of physical ability and and the biggest thing, like I said, is the leadership. I want to see kids coming out on the first day saying, okay, well, I'm going to show Coach Jurczynski that I'm going to lead this team.
Mhm.
And imagine if you had 40 kids that were like that.
Yeah, that's a nice place to be at.
And I think that from the conversations that I've had with a lot of the players, they say they're going to do it. But like to go back to your thing with the local
Mhm.
and the nationwide piece,
Mhm.
Siena is a nationwide name.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people know outside of the Capital District know what Siena is.
Yeah, it's a great college. It has a name in terms of its academics and its business school and basketball and yeah.
Yep. And the biggest thing is just trying to find the right fit. The kids because if you're bringing in a first-year student, you got to make sure they don't want to leave.
Well, let's talk about that then, because we had Dan Gableman on. He's the Union strength and conditioning coach, and hockey's their big team.
Mm-hmm.
And they won it in either 2012 or 2013.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
And he said that's going to be tough to do again because of how the transfer portal is. And they'll have kids now come there for a year, dominate,
And then go to
and
Minnesota.
then say, I'm out, Minnesota.
Ohio State.
I'm out, Quinnipiac.
Well, the
Right.
thing that Union has that's valuable is the education.
Right.
And I think that that's something that is really important when you're recruiting. Like Siena's education is top notch.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and the local kids understand that. That's why I think the local kids are really valuable.
Right.
But as a recruiter, you have to sell that to the kids all across the country. It's like, hey, you could come to Siena and play at a really good institution in upstate New York, about 10 minutes away from the capital. But it's all about like I said, finding the right fit, a kid that's going to want to stay there for 4 years or 3 years if they want to get drafted. But with the transfer portal now, it's so hard because if a kid's not happy, he can leave.
So it's because we talked about, were you at Princeton? You were there before COVID, and then COVID hit. So why don't you explain how COVID changed things for players in terms of eligibility rules, and then how the transfer portal rules changed?
So obviously eligibility, if they didn't play, they got their year back, which it's unique because at the Ivy League schools, you get a chance to play Division I baseball at one of the best academic institutions in the world.
Yeah.
And then if you were one of those kids that I shouldn't say is lucky enough to get the 2 years back, because some of them may not play, so they're missing out on 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if you decide to use the year or two, you can play. You can get your master's program maybe paid for at a Power 5 school, or at another mid-major, or even at a D3, and have a great experience. So that's like, there's obviously the pros and cons to the COVID ordeal. But like, I'm always an optimistic person. So I think that you still got to get the education. But if you are one of those kids that got your year of eligibility, like, you could either go out and work, or you can go out and play another year.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I would have given anything to play another year when I graduated. That's why I'm coaching.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty unique. But with the NIL stuff,
Because that's newer too.
yeah, I mean, is that the question you asked? NIL?
Well, we'll talk about NIL too.
I mean,
the transfer,
you can kind
it
of
blends in. Why don't we talk about the transfer portal first?
Okay,
Because
how,
transfer portal.
how COVID and all
because
that changed
before
for
the
recruiting.
rule changes, in certain scenarios, if you transfer schools, you had to sit out a year.
Mhm.
Is that
yeah,
correct?
Yeah, you had to sit out a year. But the thing is, with Princeton, it's unique because the transfers are limited. And if you're getting that Princeton degree, you're not transferring.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
right.
care.
The
I don't-
Ivies are a different
I don't care
situation.
what athletic experience you're getting a really good degree and a really good experience. And that was valuable for me. And I didn't even go to school there because I was surrounding myself with the leaders of tomorrow.
Mhm.
And whether I knew it or not, they were holding me to a higher standard. And I valued that more than coaching at times, because you're building relationships with kids that not only value in education, but they want to win and they want to compete. And they made me better coaches. Like they were the ones that, hey, we need technology. So I had to learn the technology. And if I didn't learn it, I wasn't helping them out and I wasn't helping advance their career. So I always had to be open-minded, and I always had to learn. Like that was one thing that I thought as a coach, like I'm getting this opportunity where I could learn at no cost. And why not? Like I'm sure you guys deal with it with the strength side. Like you deal with kids that push themselves to another level, and it's like, oh wow, well, this kid's working harder than me.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Like you watch these kids work out. They go to work out. The Ivy League kids, they work out at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they do it because their schedule is structured.
Right. But it's too almost, if you had, let's say, a desk job, you're sitting at your computer, you're in your office, you're doing your work, you're holding yourself accountable, hopefully, and then maybe a manager or somebody else above you is holding you accountable, and that's it. When you're a coach, whether it's an athletic coach like baseball or here in strength and conditioning, you have colleagues holding you accountable, and then you have every client in the gym, or for you, every player that's holding you accountable the whole time while you're doing your job.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing, because like now I'm with going to Siena, like I hope these kids hold me accountable, and I hope they hold the coaching staff accountable, because that's how you win, that's how you get better, that's how you grow. And like it's funny because I used to go to their lifts at like 6, 7 a.m. and I used to watch them. I'm like, holy cow! Like these kids are literally working out and they have to go to class.
Yeah.
Like, and then they have to come back and practice, and it's like the kids are unique, and I'm really lucky to be able to do what I do. But I'm looking forward to coaching these kids at Siena because, you know, just as well as I do, a baseball player is a baseball player. Whether they go to a D1, D2, D3, they all want to get the baseball mullet with the flow out of the hat. I mean, I was one of those guys. I had literally the mullet before it was like a thing.
Before it was a thing.
Like I had long hair, and I used to go to the barber. I used to have him get a taper, and my one buddy was like, "Why do you get your hair cut like that?" Like it's like because it's the only thing that'll look good in a hat.
Yeah.
And I always wore a hat. But like I said, baseball players, they're creatures of habit. They all do the same thing.
They do all the same thing. They all work out slow.
Are you?
Yeah, it's because you got time between pitches.
They all take their sweet time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you gonna let guys rock long hair and mullets and
yeah.
beards and wear chains and?
I let guys be themselves.
Yeah.
If they're here for a reason, and I'm not going to tell you what to do, I'm going to guide you. But who am I to say, oh well, you should have the same haircut as me. You should talk the same way as me. You should act the same way as me. No, like you were raised differently than I was. You work differently than I do. And if I tell you, hey, like you should be doing this, it may not work.
Yeah.
And like you got to do what's best for you. Like I said, I'll guide you. I'll give you some insight and some wisdom. But at the end of the day, like when players say, "Oh, well, the coach didn't coach me well enough." The coach is the coach.
Yeah.
The coach isn't the player.
It's I didn't coach you well enough, or you have to fit into this box. You have to look this way, dress this way, play this way.
Right.
Yeah. And you have to treat them with respect. You have to let them be themselves, and you just have to motivate them. And if everyone has their own secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
Like even here, like you got to motivate kids. You got to get kids in, and kids will want to come in here and work out with you both because you guys bring something to the table that maybe another gym doesn't.
Right.
And your gym may look differently than another gym, and the vibes might be better.
Yeah.
And
But I think like what you said with your players, hey man, you want to rock that chain? You feel like you with that? Yeah. You want to have that nice shaped up beard? You're you with that? Yeah, man, you go for it. It's like in here, there's structure. The structure of your workout is structured, and where the equipment is and where you do the exercises is structured, and how you do them is structured. But you're being you.
yeah,
You're being you, man. You tell the jokes you want. You know,
Yeah.
you wear what you want. It's
just respect everyone else around you.
100%.
That's it. And if you can do that, and that's the big thing with me. Like that's why I'm so excited for Siena, because those are the kids that I'm going to be recruiting, and that's how I'm going to treat them.
Yep.
And I think that with the kids that I'm bringing in, the kids that we have, it's going to be really awesome. And I'm just excited. I mean, I've been in the office for 3.5 straight weeks. And
Yeah, when we started talking, shout out to Jordan Bernasette who helped connect us. He's a Schenectady guy too.
yeah, Jordan was I think 5 years younger than me. Jordan's a good kid. He
Great kid. I mean, it was great for him this summer with the Dutchman. I feel like to
yeah,
just get
and
his feet into
I'm
that.
really proud of Jordan because when I was in college, I always used to try and get younger kids to hit with me because all my buddies, they went out and did their own thing, and like I literally went to, I'll never forget it. I went to our softball field at the high school, and I set up a tee, and I just hit off the tee, hit line drives up the middle, and then when I went to go pick up the balls, I picked up every ball, and I got my catcher's crouch and try and throw a seed to home, and like I called Jordan. I'm like, hey Jordan, I can't hit off this tee anymore. Like, can we hit together? Like, you want to hit? He goes, yeah. So we always used to go hit together, and he was a really talented player, but his work ethic was different than everybody else.
His work ethic is still different than everybody
and
else's.
that's how he got that job with the Dutchman, and like he's moved, and like people don't understand, like he's a full-time nurse,
Traveling nurse.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's a really good kid. And he was brought up the right way, and like I'm really fortunate to call him a friend, and he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's great. No way he drops as many F-bombs as Nick Davey, but he did a good job. Did you
definitely
play
not.
for Davey ever? or
I
no?
actually played for Nick for I think summer of 2012
On the Dutchman.
On the Dutchman. Nick was awesome, and he was just I still keep in touch with him. I actually sent 2 of our Princeton players to the Dutchman
Oh, cool.
who loved the experience, and I always told them, I'm like, hey, like you guys, I'm proud to be from Schenectady. Like I'm proud to be from the Capital District. And like I always wanted to send our guys there so they could understand like why I am the way I am, why I talk about the Capital District the way I do. And it's funny because they come back and they're like, now we know why Jurz is the way he is. But they appreciate, and that's the thing, like the Capital District here, it's so unique in so many different ways, and that's like why I wanted to come back. Not necessarily just to be around family, but just because this is home.
Yeah.
Yeah, Davey. What other coaches, obviously at Princeton, and what other coaches have been super influential for you in your coaching style? And
Honestly, all of them. Gym teachers, coaches. Everyone has had an impact on me, whether they know it or not. My high school coaches were awesome. Like, even my travel coaches, like, and it's funny because the more I think about it, the more names I remember, but I can't really pinpoint one because if I say one, then I'm going to forget another. But like every coach that I've come, even coaches that I played against, the coaches that didn't like me or whatever, like I don't care. Like you're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect.
yeah,
But there's a lot of coaches that have given me chances that other coaches didn't. Like there was some coaches that literally have never played me and they put me in the outfield. It's like, oh yeah, well, Alex can't hit. And then I have other coaches that are like, oh, you know what, Alex? I'm going to put you behind the plate. And and that's the thing, like with me, that's my coaching style, because if that coach didn't believe in me, I may not be able to believe in the players I currently have. But that was like my eye-opening moment where it's like, okay, well, he's going to put me in. And it's funny because quick story, I was a catcher and I was always afraid to block the ball. Like it was like middle school-ish. Like every kid doesn't want to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a kid in front of me, he was starting, and he told me, he goes, Alex, you're going to catch. I'm like, all right. So I go in, and this kid that's pitching, fastball, curveball. And his curveball, he always spiked it. So I always tried to pick it or just like get out of the way. And I'll never forget, in my head, I'm like, all right, it's 2 strikes, you got to call a curveball. I call a curveball, and in my head, I'm like, you're going to drop to your knees, and you're going to block this ball. And I'll never forget, I had this Nike chest protector that was like as thin as tissue paper. And I got it on eBay. I thought it was a red chest protector. It was the best chest protector ever because you couldn't find any Nike any Nike gear. So I blocked it and it hit me right in the chest and bounced in front of me. And I like looked at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was easy. It didn't even hurt. And because of him putting me in the game and me wanting to make him not necessarily proud of me, but just believe in me that, okay, Alex can do it. That was like the changing point in my catching career, I guess, because I just did it. Yeah. I was like, all right, well, that was easy. But that's the problem. Like a lot of kids, they have these barriers of, okay, well, I don't think I should do this. I don't want to do this. But once it's like working out, like you just got to wake up.
Yeah.
You got to wake up. You got to go to the gym. You got to start moving.
Yeah, you got to put somebody in a challenging position, and they have to show themselves, and you have to probably help show them
Right.
that they can succeed.
I'm not gonna lie. I was waiting for you to say he didn't spike it, and it just drilled you right in the chest. Like that's where I thought it was going, and that you were like, all right, that didn't hurt that bad.
I mean,
either way, it didn't hurt that bad. But I was ready for you to be like, yeah, I dropped to my knees, drilled me right in the chest.
Yeah.
That's happened before. But the thing is, it's just like you got to embrace it.
Yeah.
And that's why they say catchers are messed up. Like after that moment, I'm like, all right, well, plays at the plate. Like I literally stood in front of the plate, like waiting to get hit.
Catchers, hockey goalies, and lacrosse goalies
wear
are
it.
psychos.
Yeah,
All
but
psychos.
it's just like I don't know. Like I wouldn't be able to do it now. Like I just haven't played enough. But like back in the day, like I embraced it.
Dude, I'll when we don't have catchers in here, I'll sometimes go back there and catch for guys, and everybody's like, Mike, you good? I'm like, great. I'm like, I'm terrified right now.
Yeah. Well, it's different because I don't want to say when I played pitchers didn't have pitches that moved, but like now we had one pitcher or one catcher at Princeton 2 years ago. So me and my boss had to catch all fall. And like we were catching 90 plus and my boss was like in his 60s.
He's down there in the crouch.
Oh my gosh.
Good for him.
Dude, he's an animal.
Yeah.
He is probably the most resilient human
What's his
being.
name?
Scott Bradley.
Shout out Bradley.
Well, he caught Randy Johnson when he was with the Mariners.
Oh.
Yeah, so like
he's seen some gas.
Yeah, and it's just like he's catching, like he's in his 60s, and I'm like, damn, coach, like now I gotta catch. I'm like, I don't have health insurance.
You better get me some health insurance before I gear up right now.
No, but it was funny because like that fall, it was unique because I was 30 years old and I'm catching, and like there's professional players that are catching, but I haven't caught in 5 years.
Yeah.
And like my thumb was all jammed up.
Dude, that happens to me every time. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe one day I'll learn.
But you appreciate
oh my God, yeah.
the catchers that can actually do it, the catchers that can move the ball. And it's like I'll get on the machine sometimes and I'll do it, but it's where it's going. And then I'm watching my players. I'm like, come on, man, just move it. Just move it into the strike zone. And then I'm catching. He goes, come on, coach, just move it. Just move it.
And Alex, that was with nobody swinging a bat in front of my face.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just embracing it. It's like, what is it? Was it Billy Madison? 364
until hockey season.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore.
Happy
It was one of
Gilmore.
those.
364 more days till hockey season.
But that's the mentality you have to have.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be taking balls off
Don't
the
go
chest.
in the cage.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But like, you got to want to do it.
What's the deal with catching now and the trend towards a lot of guys are going down on one knee with the other leg out to the side instead of being like your traditional couch? Is that just preference?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you spend a lot of time squatting, so it's tough on your knees. But it's to each their own. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you think you're going to have success on 2 feet, be on 2 feet. If you want to be on a knee, be on a knee.
Right.
But the biggest thing is just if you're going to do it, you better be good at it. You can't just do it to be lazy.
Right.
And like I tell our catchers all the time, because receiving holds so much value. Like if you can turn a ball into a strike,
Yeah.
it's going to be a little easier to do it from a knee than 2 feet. But at the same time, like you can't be sitting back, relaxing and doing it. You got to be up on your chest up, on leaning over your knees and just really getting it. Like you watch the JT Real Mutos and then back to what we were talking about, being an athlete. Buster Posey wasn't a catcher in college.
He was a shortstop?
Yeah. He might have caught a little bit in college. I really don't know, but just got to be an athlete. And like I said before, like I always tried to take a couple infielders at Princeton and mess around with catching. And we had these lighter balls that I think a baseball 6 ounces. These were like 2.5, 3 ounces, and they're easier to catch and they're easier to manipulate. But it's funny because every kid that tries to catch, they go from a knee because they see everyone else do it.
Right.
Like, wow, this isn't as easy as I thought. And then they give the starting catchers a hard time. It's like, it ain't that easy, is it?
This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Drink Alchemy. Fatigue and brain fog affect us all, destroying everything we pursue. Whether as an athlete, artist, creator, or entrepreneur, our mind holds the key to performing optimally. By combining the most potent organic nootropics found in nature, Drink Alchemy delivers sustainable boost to creativity, memory, energy, and focus in one epic beverage. Stop pumping your body full of excessive amounts of caffeine and unknown proprietary blends from other energy drinks, and get clean energy from Drink Alchemy's natural nootropics like lion's mane, L-theanine, and caffeine from green tea. Used by Olympians, D1 athletes, MMA fighters, and entrepreneurs, Drink Alchemy has become a huge part of my daily routine, making sure I'm functioning optimally during long days of coaching athletes, running CDSF, and getting in quality workouts myself. So do yourself a favor and ditch the energy drinks loaded with caffeine, other stimulants, and who knows what else, and head over to drinkalchemy.com today. Live with your mind unbound and save 10% off your order by using code CDSF at checkout. That's drinkalchemy.com, promo code CDSF for 10% off your order today. Have you ever seen a position player turn successful pitcher in your coaching career?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the best ones are catchers. Like, I could get on the mound and throw nothing but strikes, but they're going to be right down the middle. Just because that's the way
Right.
you throw to second. You got to throw it straight. But I've seen a lot of really good position players with good arms that sort of can't hit. They just turn them into pitchers.
This guy, Jacob DeGrom, was pretty good. He was a shortstop in college and then became a pitcher.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, you got to be loose.
Yeah.
You got to be loose.
And
You got to have a good arm, and the biggest thing is
Yeah.
you got to be tough.
Because then you have the reverse. You have the
Yeah.
Rick Ankiel.
Right. You have the other aspect of it is you can't pitch well enough. So, all right, well, let me go try to hit the ball.
Yeah.
And I'm a good enough hitter. I can play another position. So might as well do that.
But that's the thing. Like when I was at Hudson Valley, there were always kids that I just threw up on the mound.
Mhm.
Like, hey, see what you got.
We have a kid in here who was a catcher and is going to try to pitch this year. He's a big kid. He's got a lot of unlocked potential. If he can put it together, he could probably be pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But he's got the catcher mentality, so it could translate over for him to the pitching. And like I said, he's a big, strong kid that I've seen him throw a couple times, and I'm like, yeah, he's got some pop.
If I were to go back in time, I would have pitched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I always valued my arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, my hitting was so inconsistent. If I took the time to practice pitching, I could have been decent. I probably wouldn't amount to much, but
I think for me in my career, if I could go back, it would be all the psychology side of things. I wish I could have changed. I had just a tremendous amount of anxiety and pressure I put on myself, which really didn't matter or mean anything, but to me it meant a lot.
yeah.
And that ended my career. I got by in high school, but it wasn't easy. Like, I played games, I did okay. I was never the best hitter, like you're saying. But yeah, everything was just, when I look back, exponentially harder than it should have been because of anxiety and pressures on myself, which led me, all those anxieties went all the way to fall ball in my junior year of college when I was like, this is not fun anymore, and then hung them up.
Yeah, it's the psychology piece is really underrated, and the mental skills are just, they're so important. Like,
Did you ever work with sports psychologists at Princeton or other jobs?
It's
in terms
fun.
of you're having it available to your players?
I actually tried to work with one of them, but he couldn't work with me because he only worked with students. Because there was one year where I couldn't throw batting practice.
Like the yips? They call
Yeah, it was just I was
Chucky Knobloch over here.
Yeah, but the thing is, luckily my boss is Scott. He was an animal. Like, he literally snapped his bicep working out, and he still threw BP. I'm telling you, he's the most resilient.
This is the
human
guy
being
that
I've
was
ever met.
catching.
Yes.
Yeah, what a machine.
9-year big leaguer. Like, he's incredible. But like I was just, I'll never forget. We were, my players will probably make fun of me for this, but we were going to play Mississippi State. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I shanked two balls to the left side. And I just kept playing it over my head over and over and over again. And it was terrible. And I read like 5 different articles that morning, tried to psych myself out of it. The biggest thing is just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing it, trying to find something to help you forget. But it's real. Like, if you can be mentally tough,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's going to take you so far in athletics.
Yeah, just mentally in check with yourself. Did you guys do like a preseason trip with Princeton, like play
every
Southern
year.
schools?
Every year. My first year we played South Carolina. We went down to South Carolina. My second year, I think we went to UNC Wilmington.
How was it competing with those schools? Do you hang in or it's tough?
It's just a different level of consistency.
Yeah.
So, like, we had a few players that were at that level, but they just had they had scholarship kids.
Right, because
Every player's at that level.
I pulled this
Yeah,
up. Let's talk about this, because Siena does a spring trip too every year, or a winter trip, whatever you want to call it. We have former players in here, and I was talking to them, and I said, "What do you want me to ask Jurczynski?" And two of them said this. They said, "What are we gonna do with this spring trip we do? This is dates from 2018 to 2022. 2018, start the season 0-17. 2019, 4-14. 2020, 0-17. No travel due to COVID. 2021. 2022, 1-12. It's tough starts. You're just playing great competition, or not as prepared. Like, you have to make changes to that trip in terms of who you're playing, or you have to get a better roster, or guys have to be better prepared.
I think it's a mix of everything. The biggest thing is in the Northeast, it's just about training the right way. Because obviously you can't catch fly balls in January, February.
And these Southern schools have been outside.
Exactly. But like, we're gonna challenge our guys, whether we're playing Mississippi State or a mid-major.
Right.
Like this past year, at Princeton, we played Georgia opening weekend, University of Georgia, and we played Duke the second weekend.
2 monster programs.
We challenged both of them. We took a game from each, which hasn't happened in a while. First time in Princeton history that we beat an SEC and an ACC opponent in the same season. Like, we played Georgia, we hit 10 home runs against them in 3 games. And it goes back to the training.
Right.
Like, we were seeing 95 every day off the machine.
Right.
And like I told you, it wasn't the coaching. It was the players. It was the leadership. And the players going into that series knowing, like, okay, well, we're gonna win a game or two.
Right.
Like, we're gonna take a series.
Because I feel like that momentum, then how you approach and how you perform in that first trip, that's going to carry into your conference play. Like, nobody's going to feel good going into conference play at a 0-17, a 1-12, a 4-14. You have pitchers whose confidences are down, hitters who maybe have not squared a baseball up in 3 weeks.
Well, it's the confidence piece.
Right.
Like, you, as a coach, you need to make sure that everyone's in the right mindset. Everyone believes, because if you go in thinking like, oh wow, well, David and Goliath, right? Like, you need to go in thinking that you're gonna beat them or at least compete with them. Like, if you just going, oh man, we're gonna play Florida, like they're a top 5 team in the country. That's a great challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that, I mean, obviously I'm older and I've been around it a little bit longer, but that's what you do it for.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, like, playing those bigger schools, you're at a disadvantage at times.
For sure.
But like, I'm not going to play Florida the first 5 weekends. I'm going to play them once.
Yeah. Right.
But like, it's all in the preparation of fall ball, winter training, and spring preseason. And it's baseball, weight training. It's the mental side. It's about making sure your schoolwork is done.
Right.
Because if you're going to Florida and you have a big paper that you didn't do,
You'd be stressed out about
that's
that.
in the back of your head.
Good point. You don't think about that.
And that's the thing. Like, everything matters when it comes from the nutrition side,
Mhm.
the strength training side.
How much have you probably already wanted to integrate yourself with the strength coaches there, get your assistant coaching staff in order and together, and talk to whatever other support staff Siena has to get everybody to be as cohesive as possible?
So I've pretty much talked to everyone that I've could, and I'm still meeting new people. But everyone's been so welcoming and so inviting and so great throughout the whole process. The strength side, they're really excited. I moved our list from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I think that that's a big piece because the recovery is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Pierce would be so happy if that was the case.
You're just like, where were you during college?
well, the biggest thing is like
I was lifting in my cotton tee at 6 a.m.
the biggest thing is you need to be structured and you need to buy in.
Yeah.
So if we work out at 6 a.m., I need everyone on the team to buy in and be ready at 6 a.m. So that may mean not going to bed at midnight, maybe going to bed at 10 or 9 p.m.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's just, it all comes down to giving them not necessarily what they want, but what's going to drive them to perform at their best.
Mm-hmm.
And I value rest and recovery. I think that that's important because these guys are going to be working hard.
Yeah, I think that's as long as you're setting up the discipline and structure because, yeah, a guy may stay up late because he's got to do his schoolwork, and that's a tough 6 a.m. turnaround. Now, you can't have him have that be a tough turnaround because he's boozing the night before.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of, setting it up so they can get the right recovery and the right mindset during the day.
And it's all about the culture because the culture is really important in getting everyone to buy in.
Yeah.
And it's back to the leadership thing. You need to have your upperclassmen telling, hey, like, you guys, you need to get your schoolwork done. Coach is giving you study hall hours. You need to make sure you're there. You're telling them you're getting your schoolwork done. You need to give them your schedule, making sure that you're giving yourself enough time to go get lunch before class or practice. Like, these are the things, and it's all about being a young adult and a mature, structured young adult.
Yeah, it's a transitionary period in life.
And that's like the thing that I didn't realize when I was in college. And being around these Ivy League kids who are just so structured in everything that they do. It's and like when I tell you, like, I'm really fortunate to have those 6 years, like, I learned so much. And all those kids that I've coached and all the people I've interacted with, it's made me a better coach, a better human. But that's what we're going to sort of implement at Siena. It's being structured, making sure your schoolwork is done, making sure you're connecting with your teachers, making sure you're being a leader for your underclassmen and the upperclassmen who are struggling. Like, advise them, go see a professor to help you get that extra work in.
Yeah, that's good. All right, we started here before. What about NIL? How much have you had to learn about name, image, likeness? Nothing to do with it? No.
Yeah, my big thing is you're playing for Siena baseball.
Right.
And I think that that's something that carries a lot of weight and it's really valuable. And you're playing for a bunch of other players. You're playing for a community. I don't know, you're doing it for the love of the game. I like the NIL stuff. Like, yeah, it's cool, but when I have to deal with it, I'll deal with it. But these kids they're here to play baseball, and I don't know.
I agree with you. What about, are there pitch clocks in college or no?
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah.
What about other rules that the MLB has had? Has any trickled down to college or no? Like, Jay, what are some of the newer rules the past few years? The extra innings thing?
Yeah, the ghost runner,
The bigger bases.
smaller base paths.
None of that.
Yeah, it's all pretty basic. I do like the pitch clock. At first I didn't, but now it's like pace of play.
I think that's how a lot of, like, even myself at first, I was kind of like, eh.
Well, it's because the umpires, they ruined it.
Yeah, they ruined
Like,
it in the.
What do you mean?
3-2 count with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and the bases are loaded and you're down by a run.
And they strike you out on a pitch clock violation, or they let the guy walk on a pitch clock violation.
Like that you need a feel for.
Right.
But like, if you're in the box and you're one of those guys messing with your batting gloves, hey,
No
coach.
more.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like those are the guys that ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah.
But if you take a breath, get in the box, get ready.
I just want all my guys to be in the box like Stanton. Just don't leave the box. Always be ready to hit.
Well, I'm coaching third base. It irritates me
Yeah.
because like I'm trying to give signs and
Yeah.
the umpire's like, get back in the box. Get back. I'm like, I can't just give you 3 signs.
Yeah.
Like then everyone will know when someone's stealing.
Right.
So there has to be a feel for the game, but with all the new technology, I think it's pretty cool. Like you got the PitchCon,
They have that in college through the PitchCom.
So that's tech to the catcher for the pitch.
the catcher and the pitcher, and then I think the infielder can use it.
I think some infielders. I don't know if all of them do.
Yeah, I'm not a big like. You put a wristband on and it has 1,000 numbers, and I got to give out. That's not for me. That's too much time. But like the PitchCom is cool. Now they have like the walkie-talkies that the coach will talk into, and the catcher has it in their ear. So that's really cool. But it's all helping the game. I think it's valuable in its own way.
If anybody heard beeps during the last minute,
I just had a slight hiccup, and Mike had to AED me.
I thought our AED started beeping. I thought I'd have to get Paul lying down, cut his shirt off. But those things are nice. You just press a button and it tells you what to do. So I was ready.
Do you have to do trainings for them?
Yeah, we have to stay like certified. So we do like American Red Cross. It's every 2 years.
On the computer, right? And it's the cartoon type thing.
I wish.
Yeah,
You have to click
they
through
changed it now. It's like real people, and it's better. But you can like test out at certain sections. We do like half online, and then you go in person
Yes.
for like the hands-on portion of
That's
it.
what we had to do.
So no, it was good to do and stay on top of. Yeah, I don't know where we were because the beeping threw me off.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, but you were a Yankees fan growing up.
Yeah, I'm just a baseball fan now.
We were talking about the rule changes.
The rule
Speaking since you
changes.
brought up the Yankees, now I
Yeah.
know. Now I remember.
Yeah, and the guys. Yeah, because we were '90s kids,
Yeah,
and they were the guys.
Bernie Williams, Andy Pettit, Derek Jeter.
Yeah, just Scott
Jorge
Brocious.
Posada.
Jorge.
Scott Brocious was my favorite player.
That's my grandmother's favorite player.
The barehanded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my grandmother's favorite
Yeah,
player.
that's like.
Yeah, Paul O'Neill. These were the times before free agency when you got a group of guys and they were together for a
But
bit.
the thing is, those players, they were so unique because back then, it wasn't just home runs. It was winning,
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And like those guys, you can tell that they had each other's backs.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not. I don't want to say it's not like that, but like guys are just trying to hit home runs
Yeah.
and strike dudes out.
Just make a little contact.
Yeah, it's just. I don't know. I mean, if I could hit home runs like that, I probably would do that
Yeah.
too.
Well, listen, if I could hit home runs like Aaron Judge, I'd do that too. But
Yeah.
we're not all 6'8".
Nobody will. Nobody will ever beat Bonds' record, though, right?
73.
Yeah.
I think somebody could.
As Otani. Could he?
I think Judge could. I think Otani could.
Someone will do it eventually.
I think depending on you get the right left-handed hitter in Yankee Stadium, they definitely could.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, like throw Bryce Harper in a Yankee uniform, he's hitting 80 home runs. Like
Yeah,
that short porch, as long as he's healthy.
yeah. I was gonna say he's getting older.
But I think at some point you'll see, just because everybody's trying to hit home runs too.
Yeah.
I think at some point you'll see it get challenged. I don't know if it'll ever get broken, but you'll see it get challenged.
Yeah. Otani's impressive. That's like a Babe Ruth and then him, 100 years apart until you see somebody like that.
I mean, it's just being able to do different things, and it really is crazy.
And he's fast. Like he leads the league in like triples, or he did last year.
Yeah, he's just good.
Like he's like hitting home runs, running the bases. The only thing he doesn't do is play the field, but like you're not gonna risk that.
And he's got a pretty good sense of humor too.
Yeah.
Like if you see some clips of him, like he's always having fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what makes it. That's some of the stuff I like about where the game's going. Is it feels like it's getting back to being like fun to watch. Whereas like I felt like for however many years it was so slow, guys weren't having fun, you know. And now you watch teams and they have the celebrations with like they have the samurai helmet for the Angels. They have the Braves have something.
What's the college? They don't allow props now, or they do?
Yeah, you're not. I don't. We never really had props,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's allowed.
Yeah.
I think you get in trouble for. I don't think it's allowed outside of the dugout.
Okay. Yeah, I knew there was some specifications
Yeah,
to
because I think
it.
McFerrin said something about it.
Yeah.
Like that there was some sort of like specification to what you can do with props or can't do. Or
Yeah, but it's just
It's like
play the
what-
game the right
it's
way.
like what you
and-
said, play it the right way, but let guys be themselves, express themselves, have fun. In a time of social media culture and short attention spans, baseball's a game of patience, and a 3 out of 10 is successful. And games are slower than field sports,
Yep.
lacrosse, football, soccer. So you do need elements of guys having fun, the fun clips you can see,
Yeah.
guys joking around. That's important. And you, as a younger coach who relates to guys and who cares and who wants guys to express themselves and be themselves and be leaders, yeah, I think it's important. It's
Yeah.
important for guys like you to come into the game and do things the right way. And it's great you're back in this area.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm itching to start playing again, and I'm excited just to see the team. It's funny because, like I said, I've watched so many of their games, and like the team's talented. It's just got to get to work.
Yeah, yeah, you have good leadership in place and you get to work and you guide guys. Yeah, we're excited to watch.
yeah,
and
man,
go
I'm
to
excited.
games,
I'm
man.
excited to see some of the changes that come in and the success of the program. Hopefully in the future and near future and further down the line, man, it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm happy
Appreciate
for you.
that.
A guy who's from the area
Yep.
and cares about family, wants to come back here to start a family and build something special.
Yeah.
It's cool, man, to just see other guys like us doing it around here.
I appreciate that. Maybe I can start working out here. I haven't worked out in 3 weeks.
You've been so busy, I'm
yeah,
sure.
it's
You
been-
you literally did just say you haven't left the office in 3 weeks, so
Well, I shouldn't say I haven't worked out. I tried to work out, and then I just get on the phone, and I can't count reps and talk on the phone at the same time. So I just stand there.
I can't
Yeah.
count reps and
And like
work out
I'm
at
one
the
of
same
those
time.
I'm one of those guys that you see at the gym that's just like talk. It looks like he's talking to himself,
Yeah.
and then I just have to go to the side and just sit on the bench and just talk on the phone. And I don't know. Hopefully, once things start to slow down, I can get back in the gym.
The phone stuff, you're seeing a period of time where you can put your phone down.
Yeah.
I know nothing urgent's going to
Well,
come
now
up.
I understand why like people work out at 4 a.m., 5 a.m.
Yeah,
because
Nobody
you can
bugs
get
them.
away.
there's nobody up to bother you.
That's
Yeah.
when I get my work done, is when I open the gym at 6, and Sam and the baby don't wake up till like 6:15. So I'll just go super early. I wake up at 4. I'll get here at like 4:45, and I got a good hour where I can just work.
It's
and
funny
have
because
no
I used to
distractions.
struggle to like wake up at 6 a.m., wake up at 7 a.m. Like I had to force myself to do it. And now it's like I wake up at like 5:30 and I'm like ready to go. And my wife's like, just stop making so much noise.
Yeah, then I got good at making no noise, and then I start to turn my phone flashlight on to be able to see things, and she'll go, "Shut the light off." And I go, "Oh."
Yeah. But the thing is, we have a dog, and like if I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, he follows me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, because then he jumps back on the bed, and then she gets mad at me. She goes, "You're waking me up."
Yeah, it's good to have a spouse that pushes you.
Yes.
It's very important. I'd rather have it that than the other way. Somebody
Yeah.
that's passive and I'm just like effing off all day.
Yeah.
So I like that. But man, Alex, I appreciate you doing this and coming
Absolutely.
on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, we had a blast. Anything you want to plug before we wrap this up?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. But like I said, I appreciate you guys. It was nice getting to know you, and looking forward to staying connected. And hopefully you guys can work my skills camp next year again.
I would love to. That's fun.
Yeah, man.
I enjoy. I worked
Yeah.
your camp and we worked a lacrosse camp 2 days this week.
Yeah,
It's just fun to get outside.
It's a fun
and-
time to get outside.
Well,
get-
well, the thing is, those kids, it's obviously free, but those kids are like, oh yeah, that Jack guy with no hair was really cool.
That's me, I guess.
No, but they like two kids came up to me and they're like, wow, I really like this tattoo.
shout out Jesse.
Shout out Jesse who's on the podcast. You know what was cool about that? 2 things. All the kids had name tags, which was huge because in a warm-up, the lacrosse camp was great. They didn't, though. So I have to go, hey, what's your name? What's your name? On this, I can look, and I can look in their eyes and address them by their name when I'm just talking to them. I think that's like a cool piece.
Well, that's the thing. Like the name tags are so important because the kids want to know that you know them,
Yeah.
right? Like they're so young, they don't
That
know
helped
that.
me in the 20-minute warm-up connect with more kids than I ever could have without the name tags.
Exactly. And I used to do catching clinics like way back in the day for Princeton. and I used to throw name tags on their mask.
Oh, the good old football name tags on the helmet.
Oh my gosh, it was the smartest thing I've ever done. And ever since then, it's like I probably invested more money in name tags than I have food.
Yeah, that's right. That was cool, and it shows the community in the Capital District because Coach Pierce, who works here, and I went there, and we meet you, but then I know Breen, and I know Frank, and Pierce knows all the players.
Yeah.
There's a high school.
And that's the thing, like all the kids there are volunteering. And it's through the Schenectady Old Timers baseball club. And they're just a bunch of older guys that played sports, and they meet every other Thursday morning at a diner, and they talk and meet. And I've been in the club for like 8 years. When I started at Hudson Valley, I joined the club. My dad actually was like, "Oh yeah, there's some older guys that have played baseball and are really well known in the community. Like they could be mentors to you." And it's funny because I used to go there every other Thursday and eat breakfast, and I was the youngest guy by like 40 years. And it was just cool because you could interact with those guys, and they have so much wisdom. And you don't understand that they played at the same level as you, and they appreciated that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. And then we ended up putting this skills camp together, and every kid that comes gets their Little League registration paid for.
That's amazing.
That's
I didn't know
through
that.
the club. Yeah, and like it's all Schenectady residents that come and perform. Because when I played, there was 4 Little Leagues: JC, Schenectady, Northside, and I think Bellevue.
How kids, this probably doesn't hold the same level of prestige now, but how coveted was the Little League All-Stars and the Little League World Series growing up?
It's the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, it was cool.
Jordy's team made it the farthest I've probably seen somebody from Chatham. Where'd you guys end up?
I don't know. We lost to Stony Brook, wherever that puts us in
I don't
the state.
even
I don't know.
state final
I don't know.
something. I don't know.
Well, we
but-
had a kid at Princeton. His name's Scott Pandora. He played in the Little League World Series for the Pennsylvania team with Monet Davis.
Yeah.
like, He actually just got drafted in the 7th round this past year.
Oh, cool.
And he was a catcher in the Little League World Series, and now he's an outfielder. But like, he's told me some stories about it, and that's like, he's that poster child of like, okay, you get out, you don't fuss, you don't get pissed, like it's just next at bat. And like his dad's a baseball guy. His dad runs the Anderson Monarchs out of Philly, and not for profit, and like. Those are the kids that you really got to look out for at a young age, and having a kid like him was just really cool. And if we had a bunch of Scott Pandoras, it'd be really good.
Yeah. That camp was great. Look forward to next year.
Good.
A Diamond's great too. They've done a lot with that field.
Well, the city lets us use it, and it's cool because when I played in high school, that's the field all our home games were on.
But it wasn't always turf.
wasn't
It
turf.
didn't have the beautiful scoreboard or the dugouts.
The lip was up to my kneecaps. Like if I, as a catcher, I went to go back up first, like if the throw ever got by, I was literally looking up over the hill, picking up the ball by the fence. And now it's like, it's flat. But the biggest thing is those kids, it's all little leaguers, 12 and under, or 6 to 12. They all get to play on the A Diamond. So we break it up. There's the tees behind home plate. We have BP on the infield, and then we have pitching in left field, infield and center field, and outfield and right field. So we had like 70 plus kids, and we just broke it up, and then we played a game at the end of day 1. It's 3 hours, and then day 2, same thing. We do the rotation, and then we have a home run derby. And the home run derby is awesome because on the big field, we have the older kids. They hit from second base over the backstop.
Oh, so you get to see your ball go over.
Yeah, we've lost so many rag balls. And then the younger kids go into left field and hit over the left field fence, like over by the foul pole. And then right field, the middle guys. And it's funny because we take the winners from each field and we play on the big field. And the kids, they get behind second base. We put the net up, and they start cheering for the kids
That's
hitting
awesome.
home runs. And it's really cool because, like, you don't see that. And, like, these kids are doing it on their own. Like, I'm not telling them to cheer. But, like, these kids are just – and then you got 7-year-olds hitting against 12-year-olds. and it's cool. Like I think that's probably like one of the highlights of my summer. I wish I could do more of it, but I don't have time. But that was the 4th year. We have one more year before we have to renew it with the Old Timers Club. And the best part is we have 70 plus players. We have 40 to 50 coaches volunteer.
Yeah,
Like,
that was a big turnout the other day.
And that's the thing. Like, the volunteers are the ones that give their time, and they love it because it's like, okay, well, you were at this point way back in the day, and now you're able to give back, and it's cool.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, it's all about community, especially in upstate New York in the Capital District. So, man, I appreciate you coming on, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Congrats again on the job and being
man.
back here with your family. And yeah, man, looking forward to following Siena.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
I appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah, so we'll catch everybody next time. Thank you.